We will now move to the next session of this cluster. This session will be the project lab. So that means it's based on project stories. And we're very happy to have this session building on the EU Switch to Green initiative. That's an initiative which has been in place for more than a decade, supported by the EU, covering several regions, Africa, the Mediterranean, Asia. And it was really interesting to have this initiative which support the private sector, but also support the development of enabling policy and regulatory frameworks. It's interesting because this initiative has had a very strong focus on documenting and capturing impacts of its work. So there's really a lot to learn from this initiative and to understand how we can scale up support to green business models. So we're really lucky to have this session. I'm happy to hand over to Jens Christian Nørgaard. Jens is a key expert of the Switch to Green facility. So I wish you an excellent session, and over to you, Jens.
Thank you very much, Thibault. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Project Lab, Building New Partnerships to Globally Support EU Priorities on the Circular Economy, showcasing implementation of circular business models in the EU Switch program. I'm Jens Nørgaard, key expert with the Switch to Green facility, and I will be moderating today's discussion on promoting the circular economy with EU partner countries. In this session, we will delve on the merits of the circular economy transition. We will talk about the need for aspects like a rethinking of our current business practices, the impact of a green transition, how the impact of a green transition can influence job creation and employment opportunities, but also about the need for international partnerships and frameworks that can support such a transition. During the session, we will use Slido for a poll after the first panel debate. And if you have any questions to the panelists, you can submit these throughout the session using the chat box or Slido. We'll then try to answer as many of these questions as possible during the questions and answers. And with this short introduction, I would like to welcome our first speaker, Ms. CARLA MONTESI, Green Deal and Digital Agenda Director at the European Commission, Directorate-General for International Partnerships, who is very well placed to introduce to us the European Union's ambition to promote the circular economy at a global level. CARLA, I kindly pass the word to you.
Thank you very much, Jens Christian, and welcome to all of you to this session on circular economy. This is, as you know, it's a key topic of our European Green Deal, which calls for a global response to climate change and environment degradation. As you know, maybe the European Commission has recently adopted a European Union action plan on circular economy. This is a plan that reaffirms once again the European ambition to promote circular economy in Europe and across the world. This plan announced, for example, our commitment to launch new partnerships such as the Global Alliance on Circular Economy. Our commitment also to increase our outreach activities, or our commitment to integrate circular economy programs in our international cooperation. We can say today that the interest of governments, the interest of the private sector on circular economy is growing around the world. And the concrete examples are, for example, the regional coalition on circular economy that have been set up already in Africa and in Latin America. And I'm very glad that the Switch program that we are discussing today in this session are able to provide support to governments and to their stakeholders. Now, this program, allow me to say, we are very proud because it's the first global initiative promoting sustainable consumption and sustainable production. So now, with its experience from some years now, offers clear recommendations and the lessons that will be very, very important to use in the future. For example, it's clear that learning from each other is essential. And the Switch program is now documenting, is now disseminating impact using the network and using the business dialogue. And of course, this is particularly important for the replication of this kind of initiative. One other key element will be to improve the business environment, to encourage greener business model and sustainable market. We have already an experience on this because the Switch Africa program have offered and is offering guidance to integrate circular economy principle in some key sectors, as for example, the agriculture or the waste management sector. One third element that I would like to mention is access to finance. Of course, it's a key element for green business models. And access to finance, we know very well, could be barriers for small and medium enterprise that want to promote circular economy initiative or investment. And we have today the experience of Switch Meds that has contributed to connect small and medium enterprise with financial institutions. The fourth element that I would like to mention is trade. Of course, trade is essential to promote circular business models. We need adequate national regulations and the cooperation with all key actors that will be involved in the value chain to really promote circular economy. And we have today a program that is called Switch to Circular Economy Value Chain that work for this, and we will be happy to listen their experience in our session. Of course, we are just at the beginning. More work, more exchange of experience will be necessary. Allow me to say that the programming that is ongoing for our new future of financial instrument, Global Europe, will be key to implement, to support us also in translating our Green Deal ambition into concrete action and the program. So much more will be done in our future 7 years with our partner countries on working on the circular economy subject. And allow me to say that in our new financial instrument, Global Europe, we have foreseen also financial new instrument like blended finance, like guarantee facilities that will help to support, to facilitate, to encourage, to de-risk investment in the circular economy sector. So the dissemination that we will have during this session about your experience, the experience of the private sector, will be very, very important to succeed, to help all us in building the future action in the green economy and in the circular economy. I stop here. Over to you, Jens Christian. Many thanks.
Thank you, Carla, particularly for highlighting the role and characteristics of the Switch programs and how they for a long time have been at the forefront of EU support to the green transition. With this insight, we will turn the focus on projects that have already successfully demonstrated implementation and uptake of circular business models, especially addressing small and medium-sized enterprises. I would like to welcome our panelists from 3 Switch projects who have kindly joined our session to provide us with practical insights on circular practices, all targeting sectors identified as priority by the EU Green Deal and the Circular Economy Action Plan, namely construction, e-waste, and plastics. So a warm welcome to Ms. JANA ZILKOVA, Head of Mission of Caritas Czech Republic in Mongolia, and representing the Switch Asia project, Recycling Building Materials in Mongolia. Ms. VIVIAN AHIAYIBR, Managing Director with City Waste Recycling Limited, and representing the Switch Africa Green Project, E-Waste Management in Ghana, from grave to cradle, and Ms. Huda Merouche and Siv Lalish, founders of Silage Invent and representing the Switch Med pilot, transformation of plastic waste into eco-friendly construction materials in Morocco. Jana, what did it take to implement circular economy in the construction sector in Mongolia? What did it take to make this happen?
Thank you very much, Jens. It is fair and honest to say that the implementation of circular practices is not a straightforward process in Mongolia, or I believe also elsewhere. Taking one step forward might actually mean that 2 steps need to be taken backwards. Mongolia is on the right track to become more circular than ever before. Thanks to the amazing support from the European Union and Switch Asia program, We work primarily in the construction and recycling sector, where we have seen an incredible progress in the last 10 years. In other words, there were almost no circular practices or processes in place 10 years ago. However, I cannot also state that we have reached the best possible results and we can simply ease our efforts. On the contrary, both construction and recycling sectors in Mongolia need our utmost attention. In my opinion, one of the most important factors is to make sure that the level of understanding among all the stakeholders is in place. It's impossible to achieve any sustainable solutions without involving all the stakeholders in defining the problem and working together on the solution. In our case, we managed to put together experts from respective ministries, parliament, MSMEs, universities, and NGOs to come up with the new regulations on sustainable practices in construction and demolition management. The world is not a static place, and the COVID-19 pandemic shocked us all. We have heard it many times. Promises cannot be kept due to the budget cuts and changing priorities. However, the pandemic made the price of construction materials more expensive, and thus our solution to produce construction and demolition waste-based products to build new roads and bridges is now cheaper than imported construction materials. Only 1 year after our efforts ended, 2 more MSMEs started producing products that we designed. Such a great success would never be possible if we left them behind and didn't invite them to share the ideas with us.
Thank you. VIVIAN, among others, JANA highlights the need for a broad stakeholder involvement. What was needed to implement circular economy practices for e-waste management in Ghana? Do you have some of the same experiences?
Hello everyone, my name is AHIAYIBR, Managing Director of City Waste Recycling. City Waste is a multi-purpose green enterprise which segregates, collects, recycle waste of electric and electronic equipment, plastic, ferrous and non-ferrous metals, sawdust, catalytic converters, lead-acid batteries, fridge degassing, which enabled us trade collected fluorocarbons, CFCs, on the global carbon credit market. City Waste implemented a business approach in favor of the circular economy through lessons learned from the Swiss African Green Project, which had a component of industrial symbiosis. Very helpful. It helped us identify sector players and also gave us the opportunity to deal directly with businesses that used our end product, and most importantly, identifying the value chain in the informal and formal sector, what their needs and wants are, and what made this happen. We educated the informal and formal sector and the general public on the benefits of green circular economy businesses, especially on climate change, value addition, green or smart buying approaches, etc. At first, we concentrated only on recycling activities, but from 2015, we introduced manufacturing session to produce small plastic containers from local cream manufacturers in Ghana. In 2020, we added sanitizer bottles when the COVID-19 pandemic started. All products are made from 100% recycled plastic, which closed the loops on the circular economy. Another step to enhance circular economy was the introduction of the electronic and electrical equipment refurbishment, which we started in 2019. Here we bring back to life obsolete through our technicians with the help of the EU Imagine project, where City Waste is partnering University of Cape Coast, Adelphi, Germany, and National Cleaner Production Center in Ghana. The EU is on point. The Swiss African Green Project has really helped us. Thank you.
Thank you, Vivian. Huda and Saif, you literally started a new business based on a circular economy concept. What did it take for you to kick off plastic waste recycling in Morocco, and how did you manage? think.
Oh, yes. We can go now?
Yes, we hear you now.
Great. The construction sector in Morocco is among the most polluting sectors and the most capitalist one. Furthermore, the market doesn't promote any new initiative to help embed sustainability and social green spirit into the main stakeholders. To implement the circular practices in the market, ZILKOVA believe that we should involve all those actors, starting by our customers, providing the best sustainable product through the most balanced value chain, and make all our products accessible and affordable, also presenting our business as a successful story, as a role model for other partners operating in the same sector in Morocco, and hopefully inspire them to join us in our mission.
Thank you. Jana, I would like to return to you. With a circular economy, we obviously want to do something good for the environment and the climate. But what about jobs and employment? What impacts do you see a circular economy having in terms of job creation? And are they only positive?
Looking at the construction and recycling sector in Mongolia, the transition to circular practices have created jobs that simply did not exist before. The new regulations on construction and demolition waste resulted in the creation of a job title, Specialist in Waste Management, who is responsible for the proper classification, separation, and transportation of waste. With the construction sector on the rise, the number of positions will rise as well. As for the recycling sector, since China announced a ban of its import of most plastic waste, more than 10 new recycling factories and collection points have been established in Mongolia, with dozens of new job positions. However, every coin has two sides, just like all the successes and progress in circular practices. While formalizing and improving the processes, the most vulnerable people are often forgotten. Those are the people who significantly contribute to circular practices without even realizing that. People who collect plastic bottles or heavy metal waste for construction sites, or make recycled products and earn very little to sustain their life. At the end, they are not appreciated for their role. In any transition, we shall not forget about them, and we shall not leave them behind, no matter how hard it is. And believe me, it is not easy. We work with informal waste collectors in Mongolia. They have to be invited to take place in discussions and be a part of the solution. While their jobs are considered informal and might not be mentioned in the reports and final indicators, they are losing their jobs. And thus we need to do our best to engage them in finding the solutions and offer them more sustainable and safer jobs.
Thank you. Vivian, we hear from Jana that circular economy has created new jobs, but we also hear that, as she also highlights, the challenge of not leaving people behind working in the informal sector. What lessons learned do you have on jobs creation and e-waste management in Ghana?
Thank you very much. Through the activities of the Switch African Green Program, city waste activities like production of the plastic goods, refurbishment of the wheel, and the establishment of collection points in the country, which is in an expansion process, we created already more than 500 new jobs, 300 in the informal and 200 in the formal sector. After completion of our planned collection system in all the 16 regions of Ghana, we expect to create over 2,000 new jobs. Aggregators, collectors, collection point attendants and recyclers, and also unlock new job opportunities for associations, women groups, churches, mosques, agents. The formal sector had more employment in the sales sector, especially for women, because in my sector, the women are very strong when it comes to and we paid a lot of attention with this gender issue as well. The training facility, which City Waste is planning to be established on our new site at Ichamante in the eastern region of Ghana, feeds the needs of the technical staff of the production of plastic goods and also refurbishment of wheel for the city waste and also for other industry to recruit from. which there's a big gap there. So we are counting on the street project to be extended. I'm being Oliver, I'll ask for more because it's successful. Green opportunities or possibilities. In our waste management sector, the plastic waste, we can be turned into resource. Plastic through segregation as source, recycling for remanufacturing purposes, and also repair and refurbishment of equipment. For example, donation of computers for the schools, and also using some of the parts through the repairers associations. When we dismantle, they use these parts that we collect from the old electronic gadgets and they make them new again for other products. The challenges, we have inadequate knowledge on green best practices, lack of capacity, lack of green finance, and appropriate technology for startups. And then industry slow in adapting redesign by using environmentally friendly raw material that can be identified and recycled easily locally to mitigate on climate change and keep raw materials long in circulation to achieve the green growth. So that is what we have really done. And not to also just look at the economic aspect of the informal sector. Every collector, when they collect for us any other waste, either electronic, plastic, organic, any other type of waste, a ton, they are insured on a health insurance scheme for a year, which also gives them something to cover themselves for their health. So this is how far the Switch project has brought us. Thank you.
Thank you. Saif, Huda, as entrepreneurs yourself, do you share some of the same experiences as with Jana and Vivian?
For us, the impact of the circular economy transition on the labor market and in the construction sector depends on the scalability of the employees' potential. Developing a green business requires having a team that has the same vision as you and the same spirit with a particular set of skills. For now, circular economy helps elevate people's potential more than create jobs. Still, we believe that by 2025, circular economy will help certainly create at least 2,000 new jobs.
Thank you, Huda. With the last panel question, we would like to look a little bit beyond your projects, but also, of course, the possibilities for your projects to expand. Jana, what do you think is necessary for a wider and faster uptake across whole sectors and value chains? How do we replicate positive results or successful results? And how do you see the role of international partnerships in support of the circular economy, including the role of the EU?
Mm-hmm. I think that everybody, globally or locally, is talking about partnerships. Myself, I'm a huge fan of and huge supporter of partnerships. However, it strikes me to play a little bit with words and focus on meaningful, tangible, and sustainable partnerships, rather than partnerships without any purpose that usually just stay on paper. International partnerships are crucial to solve the biggest challenges that don't know any borders, but have long-term implications on all of us. Climate change and circular processes are only a few of them. International partnerships, including DG INPA, play a crucial role in making a difference and promoting local issues on the global level. We work on the local and community level, and those have an impact on a very limited number of partners and beneficiaries. For us, an easy task of establishing a working group on waste management in Mongolia is a 2-year struggle. Without support from the EU delegation and Switch Asia program, our idea to talk about the challenges in waste management with different ministries and local authorities would never be possible. Therefore, I believe that the role of more powerful and resourceful players is to fight for the causes that are currently forgotten or not taken seriously by many, and make sure that the path is there for smaller organizations like mine. By raising more awareness during the high-level meetings and establishing meaningful international partnerships with a purpose, our work on the local and community level will be endorsed and taken seriously. In a short summary, that's the support I personally envision and hope for.
Thank you, Jana. I'm of course very glad to hear about the positive support you have received from the Switch program. Vivian, in the perspective of Ghana and also comparing to what we're hearing from Mongolia, do you see the same need for support and partnerships? And also, how can we best support partnerships in the perspective of Africa? Do you have a reflection on that?
Absolutely. Green businesses can better be supported through the international partnership and initiatives like the Switch Africa project by upgrading it with green finance component directly to beneficiaries, and appropriate technology transfer is needed. Also, the replication of successful Switch projects will be very good. In Ghana, support policy development, and for the rest of Africa, since policies guide our success. I am envisaging that this will help all of us. The recycling, refurbishment, production industry in Africa needs several inputs which could come through the help of government, institutions, NGOs like EU, UNDP, Switch Africa, others in the private sector, and the association in the field of training of technical staff. I will stress on that, technical staff. Establishment of a technical training school, preferably with a dual system, which has a theoretical and practical curriculum to support the sector and prepare us for the green growth in Africa and for the rest of the world. When projects like the Green Wall starts or established, that it gives preferences to products made from 100% recycled materials. For example, plastics, like what City Waste is manufacturing now, using 100% recycled plastic by producing seedling pots for the agro sector. What is also key that I must say we will want also is that there will be a lot of collaborations also to continue with, a lot of networking to help the sector develop. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Vivian. Huda and Saif, again, from an entrepreneur's perspective, maybe both at local level, but also in a perspective of maybe regional trade or global trade, what kind of support do you see as most important for engaging small businesses in the circular economy transition?
Well, sustainable international partnerships support the Moroccan circular economy generally, and ZILKOVA, particularly as it offers better knowledge and wider exposition by promoting the involvement of entities and citizens, therefore raising their awareness, extending the ecosystem, and help us have more impact on our communities. Also, better funding due to the insufficient public funding and insufficient private innovation help us sort of create a collaboration in a puzzle mode. And finally, better regulation, extending your horizon by helping you benefit from a fiscal system that respects the value chain and the characteristics of a sustainable business.
Thank you. And with this last input from Morocco on the need for wider support and replication of circular economy, we would like to invite all of you to reflect on some of the key issues already discussed by our panel. This you can do by providing, I think the poll has been up for a time, but you can continue providing your reflections on the 2 questions now available in Slido, addressing the impacts on jobs and employment, and on what would be the necessary support needed for a successful transition to the circular economy. You still have 2 or 3 minutes to add your answers, and then we will have the results after the next speaker, with whom we will now turn our focus to the global level for a moment by welcoming Ms. Nilgun Tas, Deputy Director with United Nations Industrial Development Organization, who in a short video will introduce the new EU UNIDO Circular Economy Value Change Project. We can start the video.
The EU UNIDO Switch to Circular Economy Value Chains project aims to demonstrate how a global circular economy transition requires coherent practices by all actors along value chains. The project has been designed to accelerate the uptake of circular economy practices in selected global value chains, which have MSME suppliers in developing countries. How will this be achieved? We have already made an open call to European multinationals, EU MNCs, that lead global plastics and packaging and textiles and garments value chains to make circular economy project proposals together with their MSME suppliers as co-applicants. A third call in the electronics and ICT value chain is under preparation. The selected circular economy pilots of EU MNCs and their suppliers will demonstrate how changing input materials, circular designs, process innovations, new resource-efficient technologies, reverse logistics, reuse, remanufacturing, and recycling can prevent and reduce waste and pollution, improve productivity and resilience of firms engaged, create and maintain jobs, and access markets for green and circular products. In countries where the MSME suppliers are located, the project will target both the policymakers to help improve the business environment and the value chain actors to build capacities to implement circular business practices and later scale up circularity with similar actions. Through these MNC-led pilots, this switch project will demonstrate how MSMEs can be empowered to implement circular economy practices in developing countries. By encouraging collaboration, platforms for multinationals and their suppliers, the project will also enable sharing of experiences and best practices across regions and countries. Advocacy with and support to financial institutions will facilitate the development of financial products that support circularity. The project is implemented by a partnership comprising of UNIDO, the European Investment Bank, Circular Economy, and the Royal Institute of International Affairs, better known as Chatham House. Successful pilots will have good prospects to be replicated with support from the EIB. This project has a 5-year duration. In summary, the Switch to Circular Economy Value Chains project will pilot sustainable value chain management as a driver and model for scaling up circular economy approaches through private sector-led partnerships. It will demonstrate how green transitions result in competitiveness and opportunities for MSMEs to maintain and access new markets, also for greener trade.
I would like to thank Nilkun for her presentation of this new project. It highlights the importance of piloting circular economy at all levels of production and consumption, particularly by engaging in partnerships with large multinational companies and retailers who have a direct power to design and plan for a circular impact throughout their supply chains and who should be encouraged and enabled to be part of the solution, not an obstacle. We should now have the results available of the poll, and you can view these results in your separate Slido window. With these results and the last perspectives by Nilkun, I would now like to turn back to our panelists with a few questions from the audience. I have one question from Jana, or specifically for Jana, which goes, how to ensure that taxation would benefit especially the most vulnerable communities, including those impacted by extravitism?
Thank you very much for the question. I think that I have mentioned in my presentation or in the speech that it's very important to involve the most vulnerable people from the very beginning, to ask them what actually they need, what their needs are, and to answer to those needs accordingly. I think that there are quite a few good examples from all over the world where really the most vulnerable people, where when the investment was enough in order to support their skills and to retrain them, so they were actually eligible to get more formal jobs. So I do not have any specific answer, because I think that every country and every locality is different, and what can be actually implemented here in Mongolia, maybe it's not possible in Africa, or it's not possible in the Middle East. So I think that the good start is to actually ask them.
Thank you very much, Jana. Just a second. I think actually I received some wrong questions here. Just a minute. Yeah. During the panel debate, you all spoke a lot about education and awareness raising. How do you think we can better involve the academic world or sector in the replication and uptake of circular economy? I'm particularly thinking about translating results of projects into policy making. Can they in one way act as a bridge between the private sector and policymakers?
Absolutely, because looking at what is happening, especially in Ghana now, in the e-waste sector or the waste sector in general, the informal sector constitutes about 90% of the whole sector. And so these people need a lot of training on the green business that we want to, because they are point of call. What they do would actually influence the end product that industry would actually put back on the market. And so there's the need for industry also to be trained with appropriate knowledge and technology, and also the value chain should start from the collector, the aggregator, up to the end. So we have to do the bottom-up approach, which is also very, very important. And in terms of the academia, as you spoke about, there should be some basic manuals or some curriculums developed for our technical institutions. Here in Ghana, we have the MVTIs and we have the technical universities. These are people who will come back to the field and be represented in most of these companies. So they are prepared for industry so that it will change actually the circle that we are in now by having people who have knowledge of what we are looking forward to do in the future so that we can bridge that gap. So academia comes in here, and research is also a tool, a part of it. Thank you.
Thank you, Vivian. Huda and Saif, really at company level, are you in any way ever in contact with academia, or do you see research organizations operating at your level, or is it like really only private sector engagement?
Well, for our case, we already developed a kind of program with the schools, especially in a really early age school. So for us, working with kids and with students is the only way to bridge the gap and to help promote a generation that believes in circular economy. This program goes through more hands-on jobs, making reports, implement visitation. So we show them literally what circular economy is about, what is the impact of circular economy on the jobs, on the whole ecosystem of all the stakeholders making a part of this spirit of circular economy.
Thank you. Jana, and this question goes to all, but I'll start with Jana. You brought up the issue of the need for broader stakeholder involvement. But who are the key actors forming the circular economy ecosystem, and how can these actors be engaged best?
I think the key stakeholders in the circular economy are definitely state organizations and local authorities. Those are because our projects are limited, right? Our projects start and will most probably finish after for a couple of years. But local authorities and organizations, they're going to stay here. So it's very important to train them, to work with them, to make sure that the capacities are built enough so that they can continue in our efforts even after our projects will finish.
Thank you. Vivian, if you should also name one or two organizations or stakeholders that are key to your work, who would that be?
I would also start with policymakers, because policy guides us all. Policy will guide industry to stop greenwashing and do the right thing so that we can achieve the green growth that we want. And also industry has to also be involved because they put the raw materials, for example, in my sector, on the market. So let's say if redesigning is taken into consideration and materials used in manufacturing are environmentally friendly, it trickles down to the achievement that we all want by reducing the high risk of carbon emissions, etc. And also it makes the material friendly and available for industry to use long in circulation. So this is also very, very key in this area. For me, research is also very key because, like mentioned earlier, every country's own differs based on the situation on the ground. So programs should be tailored specifically to suit particular countries or a particular sector or a particular area of operation, so that at the end of the day, it will be a guidelines for all of us to follow. Thank you.
Thank you. Saif and Huda, you also have a last remark on stakeholder involvement?
For us, it's more of real estate promoters. I mean, they are the key to push the circular economy in, I'd say, more of the green spirit in the construction sector, as well as architectures, construction material, industrials. I'd say those big stakeholders are the one who are supposed more to have more impact, pushing the current sectors into more of, say, a green and a sustainable dynamic.
Thank you. And with this last remark, I would like to thank you, the panelists, for their great input. And with still a few minutes available, I would like to wrap up the session with a couple of key takeaways. Most positive, I feel we have confirmed that based on priority value chains such as construction, electronics, and plastics, the switch programs in Asia, Africa, and the Mediterranean region have demonstrated a series of opportunities associated to circular economy practices. Our panelists highlighted how circular economy helps SMEs, not only to address environmental impacts, but also to develop and contribute to decent jobs and the growth of their businesses. For example, the Switch project in Ghana created and sustained about 500 jobs in waste management. It's quite an achievement, including in repair and remanufacturing, with the majority of these jobs being in the informal sector, while the Switch Med project in Morocco supported at least 2,000 new jobs. There are still plenty of challenges, for example, lack of capacity, access to green finance, and technology. Implementation of circular economy practices is not a straightforward process, and it highlights the importance of bringing together all stakeholders and engaging them in the circular economy transition. This includes policymakers and the private sector, but also consumers, academia, and most importantly, the informal sector. Support is needed to promote the circular economy transition. For example, support could be in the form of technical assistance, funding, and improved regulation. Last but not least, all panelists agreed that whatever the support, it should make sure that no one is left behind. And that brings us to the end of our discussion. Thank you again for a fruitful discussion on how we can cooperate and partner up on the circular economy transition. Have a great afternoon and enjoy the rest of the European Development Days. I hand it over to you, Thibault.
Directly. Thank you, Jens. Congratulations for this session, and thank you to the speakers as well. I think this was a very interactive session. And it was also interesting to hear directly from entrepreneurs and organizations supporting them what the transition means for them and how to go and take advantage of the circular economy transition. So as you said, the session gave a nice overview of the challenges, but also of the opportunities for the transition. Challenges when we hear, for example, about the informal sector, and that echoes some of the comments we heard in earlier sessions. Of course, there is a need to involve and to try to formalize the informal sector, but this is in many cases challenging, with the risk that the most vulnerable stay on the side. We heard a lot of nice recommendations for the scaling up and the need for partnerships, the interaction between the entrepreneurs and policymakers, with financial institutions as well, but also with education institutions, training, universities and schools. And that again echoes some of the comments we heard before. The comments on the polls were very useful as well. We see that employment is seen as one of the main options, one of the main opportunities related to the transition. And finally, and getting back to some of the first comments we heard, it was interesting to hear when CARLA MONTESI introduced the session, to hear about the overall momentum for the circular economy transition, referring on the one hand with progress at EU level and the implementation of the Circular Economy Action Plan, but also in terms of policies in third countries when she referred to new initiatives such as the regional coalitions for circular economy in Africa and in Latin America. So that was a very useful session. We're just a few minutes ahead of time. We'll just wait 2 minutes and we'll conclude with the final session, which will be the result of the brainstorming sessions which took place in parallel this morning, and we'll hear the results of these brainstorming discussions in a few moments.